Welcome to Gold Silver Pros.
Hey everybody, this is Rob Keens with 𝑔oldsilverpros.com. I have a special guest on the program. First time joining the program, Mark 𝘎𝙀𝘾𝙊𝙈𝙀. How are you doing today, Mark?
Hi, Robert. I'm fine, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're with Auris.io, which is this really interesting project around digital tokenization, and it relates to precious metals. I don't want to give it away, or I want you to kind of introduce this company. Tell us about what is Auris and why did you guys get started?
Okay, so at its core, Auris Technologies is a software company, and we tokenize precious metals on the blockchain. And by doing so, we make precious metals available to anyone around the globe who has a smartphone. Mm-hmm. And because it's on the blockchain, we allow it to move freely. So we're basically adding new use cases and new user experience to the precious metals market, enhancing the people who could own metals and use it.
Okay. So how does that actually work? If you have metals, what do you do in that case? Okay,
so from a retail perspective, it would be buying one of our precious metals tokens. We tokenize gold, silver, and platinum.
Okay.
With tickers T Gold, T Silver, and T Platinum, which you can purchase either from one of our brokers on the ground. These are basically web shops where people buy their coins and their bullion. Brokers are also stepping into the space, offering precious metal ownership to new clientele, thinking about younger demographics, people who want to trade it 24/7 and move it around freely. It's all about how did a metal actually get on the blockchain, right? And that is, we work with a very stringent process in KYCing our clients. So we only work with metals that are, approved by LBMA refineries, or DMCC standard, or Shanghai standard. And these metals are provided by, precious metals market participants. And we're not, we are using the blockchain to get as close to the source as possible. One of our largest liquidity providers of the metals is CEMSA refinery in Spain, which is one of the oldest and the largest refinery in the south of Europe.
Okay.
So, I can basically take you through the process of how that works, because in the end, like I started off, we're a software company. We've been around for 5 years. And what sets us apart, and I think this is mostly interesting for the community that you speak to, is that the trust factor is trusting the precious metals markets, right? Yeah. We provide software, but I don't touch the gold. We don't sell gold. We facilitate in tokenizing it, making sure all the due diligence is correct when it enters the blockchain. So metals from a broker or a refinery is added to a vault, either Brinks, Loomis, or 𝘎𝑃𝑔. We mint the tokens in a digital way after knowing that it's placed in a sub account, and then there are some contracts in place. And then what we speak of is a tripartite agreement. So the metals in the physical form can only move if 2 parties out of the 3 sign that the metals that there's a request to take the metals out. Okay, so this would be the provider of the metals. In this case, the refinery, us, and the vault. Okay. The moment it's on the blockchain and there's a digital representation of it, the moment they sell 1 token away as a providing party, they would always have to buy it back into the market to match the same amount to take the bullion out again.
Okay, so that sounds really interesting, Mark. And what was interesting about this project was you guys don't necessarily, you're not acting as Bailey for all the metal, or the owner of the metal, or even the custodian for the metal. You're saying anybody with a legitimate metal holding that in a company that does business with you and which you have arrangements with can put this metal on the blockchain. And essentially you're just not managing that piece because there's companies there to do it already. What you're managing really is the tokenization of the coins. And I assume that you have controls in place to ensure that all of that metal is where it needs to be.
Absolutely, Robert. So like you clearly said there, we're a software provider. Obviously, when building the system, we work with precious metals participants first. So if you look at the ecosystem, it's somebody who supplies the metals, somebody who vaults the metals. In this case, we work with Brinks and Loomis. And then it's the end user who gets it after distribution via crypto exchange or via a gold broker who's looking to, add T-Gold to their offerings, and such. Yes, it would go for family offices and institutions also to basically put their dusty metals to work, because that is the use case. So why would they do that? The moment the metals hit the system, every time it's transacted from one wallet to another, there's a transaction fee which gets paid back to them as a yield on the metals. So what we're doing on a B2B side is adding yield to metals. I would also say, again, correct, we're not involved in holding the metals. We're only involved in a tripartite agreement to make sure that all the legalities are followed when metals actually leave the system and when we burn the tokens. And we also work with a decentralized faulting system, in the sense that we currently have gold, silver, and platinum bullion basically allocated at different faulting facilities around the globe. In London, at Brinks, Loomis in Zurich. There are some at the Bourse Istanbul. In Turkey, at 𝘾𝙀𝘾𝙊𝙀 in Singapore. So these are all, ecosystem partners. And what you're basically doing is that, we are the software company, but we stepped away as a branded authority. It's tokenized gold, silver, and platinum provided and faulted by these partners.
That's really cool. So if somebody already has vaulted metal, one of the people that you're working with, and it sounds like you've got agreements with a lot of the big guys, so people are going to have access more than likely if they've stored it. What you're essentially doing is you're just building a software to say, okay, this software layer is going to facilitate being able to use the gold and silver instead of it just sitting there. Because the thought I've had, Mark, for so long is if we just vault it and it just sits there, it doesn't do anybody any good. We're killing the utility of gold, silver, platinum, in this case. And why would we do that? If we believe in, alternative forms of currency or alternative forms of payments, wouldn't we want it to circulate? And it sounds interesting that you guys are basically just building a system to facilitate, hey, you already have, gold and silver, but let's get it moving. Let's get it a part of the system.
Absolutely. And that is the power of, the unique stuff about, blockchain technology that it gives. And it's also like what we are doing. We're not competing to the traditional market. People who buy coins, good on them. People who buy bullion and have it faulted, it's also good. What we're doing is marketing precious metals towards this generation. And with blockchain, it can be used in different ways. So think about, fintech apps who offer, gold to their clients, right? As of now, we call that Web 2 gold. It's basically, you're buying gold, you're trusting on your fintech provider that it's there. The difference with us is that you actually receive it and you have the ability to send it to another application, right? To make it move, because that's the core facility of what, blockchain brings. So we work very much, so basically in core, right? To just speak in blockchain terms, we bring gold to Web3, and that is through decentralized finance, lending and borrowing pools to add yield on transactions on metals, but all the way down to, think about gaming, right? Think about gold being used by gamers and moving from one game to another. And that is the opportunity that what we do, gives to the market, and, should be, embraced by people who love metals, because we're basically just making sure that people who would not normally touch gold or silver are now, getting involved and get exposure to the metal.
And that's a huge piece of it, is getting adoption. And I go and speak at conferences all the time, and the younger generations are starting to get interested in the metals, but their way of accessing financial information and accessing their money is completely different, I think, than older generations prior to the advent of the internet. Of course, I'm Gen X, and we had a large hand in building that. I was in IT for a long time. So now that we have this robust infrastructure, when the internet was first being built, Mark, and I was in IT and we were talking about this, we're like, what is the killer app going to be? What's going to drive it? And certainly information and commerce, both educational and doing business, have been two of the biggest drivers. And the third one, it has been gaming. Gaming has led to so much development in terms of the personal computer and things like that. And so it makes sense that, you would be building a product that would appeal to a generation of people that were brought up in that environment. And that may be a way to get people interested in something people consider, an old dog, as something that maybe they wouldn't have gotten interested in before. And I find that really fascinating, because and you being a gold silver guy, we're always looking for ways to get people into it. And I like the asset-backed digital currency focus because it allows people to access it, to store it, to move it around, to sell it, to buy it without worrying about their own physical security. And to me, that's become more of a personal concern, as I get a little bit older. Where am I going to store this? I don't want this in my house. And, putting it somewhere and then digitizing it onto a token so you actually use it is the next step. Because now it's like, okay, I've had this for a long time. What if I want to spend it? It's part of my wealth. So I find all those concepts very intriguing. What's the genesis of how you guys started the company? What was the cause that made you see all these things and decide this is what we want to do?
Because going back there, I've got a background as a fixed income trader. And one of my, friends and partner in the business used to run one of the largest gold brokerages in Europe, Gold Direct. We got excited about the opportunities of that real world asset tokenization gives because of the usability effect, right? And if things move around, there's transactions which basically create fees. So you're basically tying fees to a traditional or an instrument that wouldn't move, right? On top of that, you're democratizing precious metals ownership. So what we do is we tokenize kilobars. Well, I don't have to tell you and your crowd that the premiums on top of coins are quite high, right? Yes. So what we do by actually facilitating market bars on silver and kilobars on gold, we're taking the premium of the kilobar all the way down to a gram, making grams of gold available close to spot, right? And that is also, what makes us unique in that sense is that, people around the globe who wouldn't have enough money or to save to basically, work towards buying a coin, or, if they're lucky enough towards a bullion to a bar, they can still have exposure to the metals by even buying, basically a cent worth of gold on the blockchain. Which is all, again, security held by, the partners and the vaulting facilitators that we work with.
It's very interesting what you said about keeping costs down, because in precious metals, it's all about premium and cost. For people that are interested just in the straight bullion, of course, there's other products, but cost is a big factor. And I would think that the younger generations are going to be super sensitive to that because of technology and because we've grown up in an Amazon world with free shipping to our houses, in 2 days. So this generation is going to have high expectations for low cost, quick turnaround on transactions, transparency, having an app, and you guys have developed all that. How long did it take you really to get all this infrastructure in place?
Quite some time, I must say. It's been a learning curve for us to educate the precious metals market about basically the added value of participating in tokenizing their metals and making it available. Because what we sell to them is obviously that you don't have to sell metals at a margin once, but as long as it's on the blockchain, the providing party receives part of these transactional fees. So also, one thing I wanted to add there, especially if you look at younger generation, you talk Amazon, I think that's more for us, but the people under us, they're so well known about how crypto assets work, nevertheless, earn money on it or not. What you do see is that if you look at generational wealth transfers of the boomers over the next 10, 20 years, there's a good possibility. Let me say it differently. I think it's an easier sell to tell your parents, I would like it in tokenized metals, than in any other crypto token coin, so to speak. And it would actually be something that obviously we would be facilitating in. So, and these are also things that we talk to. I think the market is also very interesting at this point. Who is our clientele, right? We're looking for new use cases for people to use it, right? People who buy, gold in fintech apps, people who want to move it around. And that is, really catching up speed. Also, the typical crypto investor is now suddenly also looking at it. If you look at the crypto market, it's very bearish. I think we're all aware that we're just in the beginning of a bull market in metals. And you're seeing that even crypto savvy people are looking to diversify their portfolio just as traditional investors do. So, they're also, taking positions in gold, silver, and platinum. I think, to add on that, there's also this thing going on about all this impact investing, right? And it's not bad to actually be able to invest and also make an impact. And I think that increased utility, especially on silver and platinum, is something that we really, try to embrace and also to, to let people know it's also even a more sustainable way in buying silver or platinum, because it basically remains in a vault, stays on the blockchain, and ownership can just change hands, right? So there's a lot of unique ways to look at it, at its usability, and and I think something that I also would like to add is that it's super interesting to see the strength of our non-executive board, the people who actually want to help us and get there and basically show that they're authorities in the market. One of them is Jason Toussaint. He's the basically the ex-CEO of the World Gold Council that basically set up SPDR Gold shares. And he's also not with us without a reason, right? Because there's such thing as paper gold. Then there's obviously the physical part, and what we try to do is obviously be the best boys in the class to be that trust factor, and to know that the one-to-one peg is on there. So like I said, it's the tripartite agreements with the vaulting facilitators, and we work together with people that know a little bit more about blockchain with Chainlink's proof of reserve oracle to make sure that the one-to-one peg also is there when the gold goes on chain and off chain.
Yeah, in the gold community, there's a portion of the gold community that's very traditional. I would say buy and hold, long-term investor, traditional products. Then there seems to be a couple of other communities. You have the community of people that will get into non-traditional, like jewelry or custom products or numismatics. I play in that space quite a bit. And then you have a group that's like, okay, great, but I don't want it just to sit there. I don't want gold and silver just to be a rock or a metal. We want it to do something. And I think that's energizing. If anything, I see people coming in, some from the crypto space, some just like from fintech. They're like, great, we kind of like gold and silver too, now that we're looking at alternative investments, but we need to get it moving. We need to do something with it. And I see this starting to mobilize all these reserves of gold that's just been sitting here. Do you suppose, Mark, given the problems we've had with currencies and given the announcements of the BRICS for doing a gold-backed digital one and also doing all these non-dollar type of things, how do you think the private ecosystem for digitized asset-backed tokens is going to grow? Do you think there's going to be a huge push into that field? Because I feel like a lot of traditional investments, we're in that downtrend, and I think that people are looking at traditional investments like, hey, now's the time to rotate into something else.
Absolutely, and I think it speaks for us where we stand. To listen to what's going up with the BRICS. I mean, we all have opinions. I don't want to be too opinionated about is fiat gonna basically break loose completely over the next 10 to 20 years. What I do know is that we would obviously facilitate in trading pairs from the BRICS to our own point, because we do want people to have that ownership in the metals, and coming back to what you said, to be able to use it, right? And I think that is also core in what we do. So not only does the ecosystem work for the providers of the metals, if you go down and definitely feel free to have a look. If you go to our app, you're able to buy the metals there and soon also stake it for a yield. So you're not just getting exposure to metals, but you're putting it to work straight away. If you look at it, I think I think the case for metals in many cases is stronger. And I think also coming back to the sustainable part for those who do care, there's a whole crowd out of there, out there who would definitely want exposures, especially to silver and platinum. Look in the necessity if you look at solar panel expansion as well as hydrogen motors. And that's something that we are very excited about because we see that market growing. I mean, if you think about it, just to go a little bit deeper in a case like that, it's not that all the German car manufacturers would just let Tesla, go past them and stay there, right? Mm-hmm. They're all working on hydrogen, and if that really kicks in and it's mandatory in Europe to drive a hydrogen car, you can only imagine what happens to the platinum price, right? So gold is always at our core. It will be the most basically used and understood by communities and fintechs and partnership that we work with. But there's definitely big excitement if you look at silver and platinum.
So you guys have your product out, successful launch. You guys have gotten some good adoption. What's next for the company? Or are you working on certain things, or is it more of just basically growing your brand at this point?
It's growing the brand, and then most specifically the trust aspect of it, because that's what we really stand for. We want to set the standard in precious metals tokenization. Again, why are we different than Pax Gold, Tether Gold? We're decentralized, right? There's no central authority that actually vaults the metals and mints it, right? We do that on demand with our tokenization as a service solution. Then yes, I mean, it's all about partnerships now. Right, so we talk a lot with apps around the globe, people who are actually already offering gold to their clients. Why not do that with gold on the blockchain? Mm-hmm. Again, there's interesting cases, right? There's like, if you look at a market which was very popular in the crypto space, being, for instance, the NFT market. It's always something that we frowned upon and like, what is this? Because it was basically just a JPEG. Okay, but what can we do with a gold-backed token? We could allow people to mint, NFTs backed by gold, adding that intrinsic value and setting a floor price, right? So that the pricing of the art piece would be way less volatile, and we can, add utility there. So it's not that we jumped on it because we didn't feel that it was something that we wanted to be involved with. But now going forward, we do see these kind of, Web3 applications using a better, stabilizer being backed by gold. And then again, like I said before, I think entering gaming and having T-Gold move between games, that is for us the holy grail. And that's something that we'll be working very close to.
Yeah, it's really interesting. The gaming economies actually are a big part of the regular economy. My son got involved in that on several games, building characters, transferring stuff. And I remember many years ago, I first started on the internet, you had multiplayer gaming coming out, and you had this economic systems within the games, and people would make fun and say, oh, it's just a game. But now that's big business, and gaming is such a big business that assets within the game it's huge business, right? And if you guys tie into that market, it would be tremendous for you to be able to take value from one game to another, because now not only are you stabilizing the economy of a game, but you're saying we have an economy between games. And now all of a sudden, people could move between different genres or different, game makers and still have that value. For gamers, that would be huge, I would imagine, because it means you don't have to restart, your progress every time you want to start a new game.
And I think that, goes again, people who play games, I'm more from the Zelda and the Mario brothers. First ones. I think we're talking, 8-bit Nintendos. But back then, you used to play for gold, and people supposedly still do. I'm not an avid gamer anymore, but we do see a case there. And it's also interesting how these conversations took place with some gaming publishers that we're in contact with, because they were also looking to do something about toxic communities, right? People who actually play games in competition and swear a lot. How to make that good, right? So they would actually think about tracking players, and if you didn't swear for a few days, they would just give you, a tap on the back and basically give you some gold, right? That's where exactly. That's how the idea started, right? And then we understood like the difficulties when people win a game, right? That all these transfers got stuck, right? Because people use Apple Pay, PayPal, or whatever. So using blockchain is obviously a way forward in making sure that happens well, and that moved forward towards intergaming. I think that's something that we're working towards too. We got the right partners in place, but we're just awaiting the right time to do so. And I definitely think that's going to be a massive opportunity for us in the next years to come.
Yeah, I could see that definitely as being the next step in gaming, and how to handle the economies is turning it into a digital economy. It makes sense. And like I said, that's really big business. And I'm sure, from the social aspect of it, parents would be very happy to know that you're incentivizing, good behavior in games. It's one thing as a parent we always worry about with our kids. So that's definitely a positive outlook.
It's so crazy how, society is changing, right? I mean, I live in Amsterdam, and I see how many people are actually out and about midday, right? Are people not working anymore? Well, there's all new ways to make money, right? Either rent or to make a business, but people work, in their own time behind laptops. But imagine getting paid by game time, right? Because that is something even a Netflix or something would jump on, right? Because what do they want to do? They want you to binge watch. So it would actually, benefit them to incentivize people. And if you do that, you can obviously look at how would you incentivize using crypto. It'll be stables, but if you want to, gamify it, play with it, then obviously, doing that with a gold-backed token and getting incentivized in gold for just, watching your favorite programs is those are the cases that you could be discussing.
Yeah, and it'd be great to get kids involved in gold too. So this is a great way to do it with the tokens. It gets them right into, because they understand the digital aspect, it gets them right into using gold and silver, which I think is the aspect that really appeals to me. And I like the, having a technology career, I like the digitization as well, because it makes it more convenient. And the only way, if we ever really return to having gold as any sort of real currency in the system, for whatever reason, even if it's just one to facilitate gaming or to facilitate transfer payments to friends overseas or helping out family, whatever the use case is, having a way to facilitate that very quickly that we don't, that we hadn't had in the past, to me is probably the most important part of this ecosystem of asset-backed digital currencies that's being formed, that I think is now mobilizing gold, silver, and of course, in your case, platinum, for the people to use in a way that anybody can use and across current technology, which to me is really huge. And I would think if you're even just a regular bullion advocate for gold and silver, adoption through asset-backed digital currencies like this one, or backed tokens, would be a way for everybody that holds gold and silver maybe to do better, honestly, because there's going to be more demand. So I would think anybody involved in gold and silver would find this at least to be very interesting.
Exactly. And the cool thing is that, again, it's not, getting into competition with what people do, right? People who buy coins, they buy coins. But what we're already seeing is that, people show us, their pictures of their own vault at home, right? And they have their coins, their bullion, and now suddenly they're also adding, what we have is an Auris Vault card, which is basically like a ledger, which will work together with your app where you can store your metals on. So basically, having your metals offline, but people are already understanding that a little card basically could obviously, hold a lot more metals, especially if you look at silver in a vault, right? Because it basically, the amount of metals held on a card with technology is obviously uncapped, if you look at your vaulting space. So it's, people are understanding it. And I do think that, younger generations in 10 years from now, they would be, it would not for them per se be different than having that shiny metal in their hand or having it in a digital form. And this is, continuous research that we do. If you look at countries like in India, where you talk about all the under the mattress gold, how is that going to the next generations? And they did this research that, what would you prefer, the gold or the iPhone? Younger people actually tend to choose the iPhone. Imagine, pick the iPhone, but tell them that it can also contain the gold, right? It's the way people will look at it. And, I definitely think, and then obviously that's a whole different discussion, regarding the shortages in the metals market or the physical space that already are inherent. Yeah.
Well, Mark, thank you so much for coming on. If people are interested in maybe looking at this from an investment perspective, do you have a way in which they can get involved in your company?
Definitely. We have a nice website for you to find more about, what I just said, auris.io, and definitely move over to the App Store on both iOS and Android. We have a cool working app. Just have a look there. I think it's all available via the websites, but definitely make sure you check out the app. Yeah, and also make sure that in any comments on the YouTube, just if you just share that you open the app after seeing this, just somehow get in contact with Robert, because I would be offering some or handing out some metals for your worthwhile. So let's just cap that to a certain amount. So let's say the first 50 who open the Auris app and let just add it in the comments and we'll make something happen.
Oh, awesome. Okay. So if people are interested in some free metal and they get involved with Auris, post that in comments and we'll track that. Thank you. That's a great offer. Thank you so much.
Awesome. We'll do so. Thanks, right, Robert.
Thanks, Mark, for coming back on and we'd like to have you back on actually to talk about it as you guys make developments. So definitely we'll do that. And if anybody's interested, auris.io, you can go see that project. It's very interesting, and it's a great way to democratize, access to metals, but also make it easy way to transfer that value and actually use your gold, silver, and platinum. Thank you so much, Mark.
Hey, thanks for watching. We selected these videos just for you. Check them out. And remember, $4.99 a month keeps the lights on and the channel going. So join our Gold Silver Pro supporter membership. We appreciate your support. Keep stacking.